Hey guys, welcome back. So today I have a Ryobi Inverter generator and I was really excited about this machine. It has a lot of technology that I think makes it the preferred inverter generator over, like the Yamaha or the Honda. And that's basically the Bluetooth and the fact that it has wheels. It's very easy to move around. With that said, the Yamaha is a well-built machine as well as the Honda. If you're going to be running them every day, I suggest getting one of those. I only use this a few times a year, so I have no problem owning a generator that's not built quite as well. With that said, this is a nice machine. The Bluetooth piece is really nice. You get an app on your phone. You can control the auto idle. You can shut it off. You can see how much fuel you have left and what the load is. And that for me is worth it, sacrificing my Yamaha. And I was really hoping to like it enough to do that, but I've uncovered a problem. And I don't know if it's a problem with my generator specifically or if it's a design flaw, but basically when it's under no load or very light load, it runs fine. When it's 50% load or higher, it's fine. But if it's around 25%, which is like 400 watts, it starts surging. And it does go away if you choke it about halfway. So it's telling me it's not getting enough fuel. And this machine is only a year and a half old, and I've already cleaned the carburetor. It was spotless to begin with, but I cleaned it anyway. And that did not change anything. I did oil the air filter, and I'm gonna swap out the spark plug later. I think this has a Torch brand in it now. I'm not expecting that to fix it, but I thought I'd try the simple tune-up things before resorting to buying a new carb. So I'm going to start it right now and just show you what I'm talking about. And hopefully I can show you how to fix it if yours is doing the same thing. So that was it. The 400 watt load was causing it to surge with the auto idle on and off, which is interesting to me because with a blow dryer on low, it's about 700 to 800 watts. I don't think it surges at all. So I'm going to try this and see if that is true. So that's kind of interesting. Under 400 watts, it'll surge with auto idle on or off. It doesn't really matter. With the blow dryer, 800 watt load, it's still a little unsteady, but it does find, a good speed and sticks to it after it settles down. And I've also tried higher loads, like 1600 watts. Same thing, you know, it'll bounce around a bit with the surge, but it does steady out. So I would say it is carburetor related and not spark, but I'll swap the spark plug out anyway, just to rule that out. And most likely I'll be showing you how to put a new carburetor in here. This comes with a special tool to remove the plug. Of course, I'm the second owner, and do you think I have that tool? I do not. So hopefully I can get it out just with a standard spark plug wrench. Yeah, and you can kind of see it. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. The plug is right there. What I'm guessing is going on, the plastics might be interfering with the socket going on, so yeah, I wish I had the tool that came with it, but let me struggle with it a bit more and see if I can get a socket on there. So, had to make a little trip to the hardware store and get one of these kits. There's 4 different sizes, and I did get the largest one to fit, which I think is 3/4 of an inch. You can kind of see it right in there. Even that was really tough to get on there, but now that it's on there, I'm going to try to get it out. Yeah, that was a pain. All right, let's see. So that's about what I thought. It's running the same as it did before, maybe slightly better, but problem's not gone. Either way, you know, I'm happy to have this plug out of it and a nice NGK plug in its place. So I'm gonna place an order for a carburetor, and you know, I'll turn you back on in a few days and we'll put it in and see if that solves the problem. So, new carburetor has arrived. It looks in all right condition. Honestly, I think this one looks better. And they do look a little bit different as far as at least the bowl design. I'd say the one that's in there looks nicer. But with that said, I think this is the right carburetor. So I'm gonna proceed and actually drain the bowl, and just start taking things off so I can get this carburetor out of there. This is just a breather hose. You don't have to take it off on both ends, but I'm going to take it off just so you can see a little better what's going on. So to get this off, there's just a nut on either side of this air intake. You do need an extended socket for the back one and just a regular socket for the front. And they don't go on very well because it hits the side here, so you do kind of have to bend this a bit. It is flexible to get that socket in there. So the breather hose is off. I got the bolts off on the air intake side. The only thing left, actually there's a few things holding this in. There's the choke cable, fuel line on the far side, and then the servo motor has a wire harness that goes down. So hopefully I can reach the other end of that plug so I can unplug it and get everything out. And this here is holding on the choke wire. Just gonna loosen that a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna need 2 hands for that, but that plug has to come out. So you can see the two side by side. They are pretty much the same. The actual bowl design looks a little bit different. And you can tell these are slightly different revisions. You know, hopefully these are both legit. At least I hope the new one is. Anyway, this servo has to be transplanted over here. It's hard to see. There is a lock washer here. There was, and a washer, so make sure those get back in the right spot. And when you put this in, you gotta line up the throttle plate with the servo. It's keyed. And don't force it. When you reattach the choke wire, it's important to test the choke to make sure it's only choking when you have it in the start position. And that it's choking all the way. So in this case, it is on start, it's choked all the way. I'm going to select run. It's all the way open. So this connects down to the air box. It's a little bit hard to get this piece in. Usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, I've only done this once, but last time I used a screwdriver with kind of a blunt tip so I could push it down into the air box so it seats properly. I think that's it. Let's try it out. I was about ready to wrap this video up. You know, after putting the new carb on, I started it. Ran great. I'll show you a quick clip of that. I've since started it a few times and you know, it's still not running well, at least when it's cold, I think. So I'm gonna start it right now. As you can probably see, there is some frost out here. The generator's cold. It's not that cold, but it was in the garage, so it's probably about 50 degrees. So I'm gonna start it, try load testing it again with the new carb. And you know, after it warms up, I'll test it again, see if there's any change. Now the original carb, there was no change. You know, I let it run for about an hour, you know, tested it, although I didn't show it on video, and there was absolutely no change. I think in this case, this carb is still running lean, but it does improve when it warms up. All right, so it just stalled under a heavy load after about running for a minute. So I did shut the fuel shutoff off right after it stalled. I'm gonna check the bowl, see if there's anything in there, but you know, it could be the fuel filter's clogged, maybe the vent here isn't working. But I didn't hear any release of pressure. You know, it should have sucked air in if that was the problem. So hopefully it's just the fuel filter, but that is odd. And I wonder if that is the cause of the issue that I've been struggling with here. So let me get this back in the garage, check out the bowl, see if there's any fuel in there, and then I'll just test the fuel flow through the filter. All right, let's see what's in there. If there's any fuel in the bowl. Yeah, so that's how much came out. It does seem a bit low. So I'm going to turn the fuel back on, the fuel valve, wait a few minutes and drain it again and compare it to how much just came out now. So I gave it a few minutes, I let the bowl fill up, and then I just drained it to see how much gas is in there. And it's hard to tell, but I think that there is more in there now than there was when it stalled, which tells me that the fuel was restricted. Hopefully it's freed up a bit. I did end up replacing the fuel filter anyway. It didn't seem to be clogged. It might have been an issue in the fuel valve or maybe up in the fuel tank. Anyway, I'm just gonna open up the fuel valve and make sure we get good flow now. Okay, so I ran out of time earlier. I didn't expect this to take as long as it has. And, long story short is I was troubleshooting, the fuel flow, starting with the vent on the tank, which was fine. I pulled the hose from the carb, tested the flow through the filter, everything was fine. I replaced the filter anyway, reconnected everything back up, and wanted to test the flow coming out into this cup. So I opened up this drain, turned this knob to on, and nothing came out. So I thought, okay, that's the problem, stuck float. And I was about to take everything apart, and I'm not sure why I did this, but thankfully I did. I reached over and turned the knob further. Now it's at the top of run. And you can see we're starting to get a fuel flow. It's not great, it's still restricted. If I turn it all the way to choke, you'll see the fuel flow picks up some. So the problem is the calibration of this. So right now it's still on run, but you can see no fuel. So just turning it up slowly, trying to figure out all right, where do we get the best flow? And it seems like right around here, you get an unobstructed fuel flow, which is kind of in between the C and the H on the word choke. And I was only turning it that far to start it, and then I was actually turning it back, way back, because I wanted to make sure it ran fine without choke on at all, not realizing that the fuel was getting cut. So that's definitely the cause of the stalling. It's most likely the cause of the surging as well. So now that I know that, I'm gonna readjust this choke cable so that I can actually turn it to CH to get the good fuel flow without it actually choking. And hopefully there's enough play in here that I can still choke it enough to actually get it started. So let me make these adjustments. I'll bring it back outside and see if that takes care of the issue. So hopefully it's the final test. Regardless, I think I'm done with this machine. I'm not too excited about it anymore, given its issues. But let's get it started and we'll see what it does. Okay, good. So stalling issue is solved. Just wasn't turning the knob enough. I don't know if that's an issue specific to my generator or if this is a more common problem, but if you have one of these and they're stalling, it might be this easy start system, which, I was not thrilled about this to begin with. And there's actually detents here, and they seem to be a little bit misaligned with the sticker. This sticker, should be a little further up. This is actually the end of the run detent, which is, close to that H. So now that I know that, it runs a lot better. Even at the 400 watt load, it, bounces around a little bit, but then it finds a happy place and runs well. So, I think I'm going to call it. If you got one of these generators, I'd be interested to hear if you're having a similar issue with this easy start knob. When they came out with this third generation one, I was a little bit excited that they actually made an improvement. The original one went from off to choke to run. And that's fine, but when you go to shut it off, it's basically choked all the way through off. So you're flooding the engine when the engine's powering down. Even their bigger generators, I think, are still set up that way. And it makes restarting it difficult. So this is definitely a design improvement. Unfortunately, that fuel on off, is not really set up very well to handle that. It's almost expecting you to be turning it to choke to get the fuel to fully open, which is no good. So I would suspect I'm not the only one having this issue. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.